Now that we've created a Firebase account and created our first project through the Firebase website, it's time to get set up for Android. If you're only using Flutter to make iOS apps, then you can skip this lesson and proceed to the next lesson where we set up for iOS. So first, let's add our Android app, and you can see the little Android symbol here. And we're going to have to figure out what our Android package name is. So how do we find this? Well, as it suggests, it's in the app level build Gradle file, and it's under something called application ID. So if we head back into our project and we open up the Android folder in our project and make sure that we're in the project view, then if we go into the app folder and we go into the build Gradle that's inside the app folder and not the one that's in the project, well, then we end up here. And if we look through here, then you'll find your application ID. And this is what we need to supply to Firebase. Now, usually your application ID should be unique across the Android App Store. So I recommend changing this part to your name. So it could be Angela Yu, or it could be whatever your name is. Now, if you have a company, then be sure to put in your reverse domain name. Now, how did Flutter come up with this name? Well, whenever we create a new Flutter project, one of the things that we had to supply is a company domain in this setup wizard. So say if your company was google.com, then it would create a package name of com.google. the name of your app. So this is how we came about the co.apiary.flashchat. So once you've modified this to your own name or your own domain, then go ahead and copy the entire string over to here and paste it in here. Now, it's really important that what you see here matches what you have as the key for the application ID. Exactly, not including the quotation marks, of course. Now, once you're done with that, go ahead and click on Register App. And once the spinner stops, we'll get to download our Google Services.json configuration file. Now, it's really important that if you click on this once, you get the Google Services.json downloaded. But on a lot of computers, if you click on it twice, say maybe by accident, you'll get another file downloaded, but you'll see that it actually has one after the name of the file. And it's really important that you only have one of these files in your downloads folder, so you don't end up with a one added to the name of the file. And the reason is because Firebase is going to look to find a file called google-services.json and not something called google-services1.json. So this is a really common place where people trip up. So it's important to be aware of that. Now, once you've gotten this file, go ahead and open up Android Studio and have your Finder or your Windows Explorer open up where that file is located. And we're going to drag it aiming for the app folder. So make sure the app folder is the one that's highlighted. So now we get to go ahead and add it to the app folder. And it doesn't matter if you want to add it to Git or not. It doesn't really affect your project. So now we can see the google-services.json in its entirety inside our app folder, and we're ready to move on to the next step of setup. So let's go ahead and click next. And now there's just a few more things we have to do. So we have to open up our project level build Gradle. So it's under our project/build Gradle. So that refers to the one that's inside our Android project under the name of build Gradle. And here we have something called dependencies. And what it's asking us to do is to copy this line of code and add it below any other dependencies, but making sure that it's still inside the curly braces of our dependencies. And then we have to open up the app level build.gradle. So this is under our project/app/build.gradle. and it's the one that's inside here. So inside the app folder, we've got our build.gradle. And here we also have some dependencies down here, and we're going to copy this line and add it into the dependencies inside our app level build.gradle. I'm going to paste it right here. And we're also going to copy this line, which implements our Google Services file right at the bottom of the file, below everything else and outside of all the other curly braces. Now, once you're done, you can go ahead and close up all of those files and make sure that you've got the Android emulator selected. Go ahead and run your app just to make sure that everything is working as expected. All going well, you should see the app run in the emulator or in your device. And if you take a look inside the Run tab, you might see something about something being deprecated or a couple of messages from Firebase, but don't worry about this. As long as you don't see anything in red inside your console under the Run tab and your app actually loads up, then that means you've set up Firebase to work with your Android app successfully. So now you can hit next and you're going to skip this last step and continue to console. And we're now ready to move on to the next part, which is setting up the iOS app.